Sit down.
Rich folks and butlers go together like peas and carrots. For hundreds, if not thousands of years, the world's rich and powerful have been waited on hand and foot by servants and butlers. Billionaires of today are no different, and the butlers they employ lead a very lucrative career, rife with all the perks of being a billionaire servant. Here's a look inside the life of a billionaire butler. Before we get into this one, please take 2 seconds and smash that subscribe button, give us a like, and share and tickle that bell icon. It is only 2 seconds of your time in exchange for a lifetime of our gratitude. It's the first morning of butler school in London. 11 classmates who paid $3,000 each to learn from the best of how to be butlers of the elite take their first step into the world of being a servant to the world's ultra-rich. Classes are convened in a conference room at the London headquarters of Bespoke Bureau, a high society staffing agency that runs the school. Compared with the royal grandeur just outside, consisting of a medieval stone courtyard where the Lord Mayor's coronation carriage is on display, the office space itself is more akin to the movie office space. Perhaps a prelude to the master-servant dynamic awaiting the students in the future. Each student is taught how to maintain the proper style and hygiene so that they always look the butler part. Hair was always kept, nails clipped, no visible tattoos or jewelry are allowed, even on the women. Nowadays, becoming a butler is not only relegated to men, women as well sign up for classes like these, and in most cases, class rosters are also split evenly between male and female students hoping to make their mark in the personal servant industry. Aside from personal hygiene, attire is very important. Polished shoes and the standard butler uniform of black tie, white shirt, and black trousers are the most frequently worn assemblies by today's elite butlers. A butler's duties are broad and require an ability to delegate as well as manage other employees of the house. The butler is the captain of the ship, and therefore he or she is responsible for supervising household staff, oversee his boss's meals and entertainment, and attends to his every whim and desire. In that respect, the basic job requirements haven't changed much in decades. Some things that have changed, though, are the days of the dainty lord ringing a bell for a cup of tea and a plate of scones. The butlers of today serve high-profile athletes, neurotic money managers, manor-owning supermodels, world-famous celebrities, and randy oil sheiks. Former servants to the rich, famous, and powerful have horrendous, hilarious, and even hooker-fueled stories that they rarely get a chance to speak about because no one ever talks to the butler. It takes a special kind of person to want to become a butler because they see everything, but are expected to say nothing. Traditionally, they have been bound by a code of discretion, but those are the old ways these days. They are almost always bound by ironclad non-disclosure agreements. To be safe, butlers in training are advised to delete all their social media accounts to minimize the temptation of a late-night, unthought-out post. Becoming a butler can be a lucrative career choice. A new butler willing to go east to China or the UAE, or anywhere a shortage of Anglo servants persists, can snatch up a starting salary of $60,000 to $80,000 per year and run his employer's estate from the start. In the West, standards are higher, and there is much more competition in the industry. A newbie butler normally apprentices for a few years and earns a starting salary of $30,000 to $40,000 annually. Luckily, the opportunity to hit a six-figure salary is very obtainable. A butler can expect to hit the $100,000 or more per year mark in only 5 to 6 years, even sooner if they are privy to embarrassing secrets regarding the personal lives of their employers. So, the money is good and the demand is high, yet it is not a career one takes on lightly. According to Daniel Bentley, a 44-year-old Brit trained at a hotel management school who is a lifelong butler, nothing has a bigger impact on a butler's life than finding the employer. Bentley has managed to build a life around his career, even raising a teenage daughter with his ex-wife who is from the US. He met her while he was working for a Mexican media mogul. But the marriage didn't last. Bentley says most butlers are either gay or divorced because the demanding schedule and frequent travel can be rough on traditional marriage. Still, his marriage brought him to LA, where he now runs the 36,000 square foot Bel Air home of an American financier. In the US, green card requirements make British-born butlers a rare artifact. My boss jokes that he pays a lot of money for this accent, says Bentley. He appreciates his current boss, or principal, which is now the proper term to use when discussing a butler's employee. But things were not always so peachy for the British manservant. Bentley's first job was a 2-year stint as the chief steward aboard the yacht of an oil sheik. The sheik was not always on his boat, but when he did board the opulent vessel and set sail, he liked to take the vessel whoring, according to Bentley. The girls would all line up on the dock, the sheik would say. You go, you come aboard. On one 4-day trip from Spain to Morocco, one of the sheik's wives surprised him and the crew when the boat was put into port. She came on board with her daughters, looking in every bed, trying to find a public hair or any evidence of infidelity. Luckily, Bentley knew of her arrival beforehand, and he had the maids strip the sheets. At the same time, Bentley was forced to hide half a dozen prostitutes in his cabin, knowing that a sheik's wife would never go into the servants' quarters below deck. Then he stayed up all night in the laundry room, scrubbing away the evidence of the debauchery that took place before the wife's surprise arrival. After hours of covering up his boss's adulterous behavior, he was finally able to get some sleep, only to have one of his staff knock on the door seconds after his head hit the pillow. He was needed on deck by the sheik immediately. Bentley asked his subordinate if he could take care of it, but the sheik demanded Bentley himself report to the deck. The reason for the late-night disturbance was nothing of note. The sheik only needed Bentley to turn off a light. That one there, he said, pointing to a switch 3 feet away. That's when you have to be thick-skinned, says Bentley, who flipped the switch with a smile and without a word. China is fast becoming a country whose demand for butlers outweighs almost all others. There are close to 500 billionaires in China and over 1 million millionaires, 60% of which rose to their current wealth in the last 5 years. This means the demand for Western-trained butlers is bigger than ever in the country. According to Gary Williams, a London-based elite staffing agent, the demand for Western butlers in China is partly due to the massive popularity of the British TV show Downton Abbey. Millions of Chinese watched the show, and it shaped the perception of what a butler should be in that country. Nick Bonnell, a 52-year-old English butler, moved from London to Shanghai in search of a higher salary in 2013. Bonnell was born into the butler lifestyle. His parents served on a British estate, and he was the apprentice to the head butler at the tender age of 8 years old. He once even worked at Highclere Castle, where Downton Abbey is filmed. He works for 2 different principals, including one he gave the nickname the Oprah Winfrey of China to. Both employers have given him complete authority to transform and run their households, as they have seen in Downton Abbey. What shocked me most when I arrived was the low level of service compared to the West, he says. Even in the 5-star hotels, timing, style, and attitude are way below what he expects. That does not mean he avoided some culture shock, as much as Chinese principals may fixate on English or Western-style service. They also have their firm traditions, forcing butlers like Bonnell to straddle both sides of the fence to keep their employees happy. At an early dinner party where he first encountered the Chinese practice of toasting fast and furiously around the table, each speech punctuated with "ganbai," which loosely translate to "down it." If a guest fails to chug what's in his glass, it's an insult to the toaster. In school, a butler is taught to keep glasses full at all times, which Bonnell did. After a few rounds of ganbaiing, He realized it was only a matter of minutes before the entire party, including his boss, would be too hammered to stand. So now he just refills with a splash of wine unless ordered otherwise. The demand for Western, particularly white butlers, is a status symbol for the Chinese elite, more than anything else. It shows they possess the money, power, and class to hire a Westerner on a Western salary. A native Chinese butler costs less and can be afforded by even the middle class in China for $150 to $300 per month, a proposition that does not carry the affluence or clout of hiring a Westerner. Being a butler in today's world is a demanding job that only a small percentage of us are built for. But for the right applicant, it can prove to be a lucrative and rewarding career if they have the chops for it. What say you? Leave your comments down below, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, share, and ring the notification bell.